When Donald Trump announced tariffs on imports, the news cycle exploded. Headlines screamed about trade wars, rising prices, and economic uncertainty. People everywhere debated whether these tariffs would protect American jobs or backfire on consumers. But what if all that noise about tariffs was just a distraction? What if beneath the surface, something much bigger was unfolding? Something that the tariffs were cleverly masking? Today, we're going to dive deep into what Trump's tariff strategy really means, and more importantly, what his administration has been planning all along. At first glance, tariffs might seem like a straightforward economic tool, taxing imports to encourage buying American-made products. But in reality, they're a powerful political chess move. The tariffs grabbed headlines, rattled markets, and provoked reactions from global powers. Yet, while everyone was focused on these escalating import taxes, the Trump administration was quietly setting the stage for a much broader agenda. This agenda reaches far beyond trade and touches on how America asserts its dominance on the world stage, restructures its economy, and reshapes geopolitical alliances. Understanding this requires peeling back layers of strategy. The tariffs served as a visible flashpoint, something tangible that people could argue over. But in doing so, they masked deeper ambitions related to technological supremacy, economic sovereignty, and military positioning. It wasn't just about forcing China to negotiate better trade deals or protecting American steelworkers. It was about redefining America's role in a rapidly changing global order. To grasp what's really happening, we'll look at several key areas where Trump's real plans come into focus: the pursuit of technological dominance, the push for reshaping supply chains, and the geopolitical maneuvers that have flown under the radar while tariffs hogged the spotlight. Along the way, we'll break down complex ideas into clear, understandable insights, so you get the full picture of what's at stake and why it matters to you. The story of tariffs is a story about distraction, about how focusing on one battle can hide the larger war. It's a reminder that in politics and economics, things are rarely what they seem on the surface. So buckle up. We're about to unpack what Trump's tariffs were really about and explore the big moves that might just redefine the future of global power. When tariffs hit the scene, the immediate effect was clear. Prices on imported goods increased, American companies faced higher costs for raw materials, and global trade tensions flared. But behind the headlines, the administration was pushing for something much more strategic: control over the technologies that will shape the 21st century. From 5G networks to artificial intelligence and semiconductors, these fields are the battlegrounds of future economic and military power. Why focus on technology? Because the country that leads in these areas won't just dominate economically, it will set standards, control information flow, and hold military advantages. The tariffs targeted China, but the bigger picture was about slowing down China's rise as a technological superpower and accelerating America's investment in its own capabilities. This meant funneling resources into innovation hubs, encouraging reshoring of high-tech manufacturing, and protecting intellectual property aggressively. But the tariffs themselves caused pain. U.S. farmers, for example, felt the brunt of retaliatory tariffs from China. American consumers saw price hikes on everyday products. Yet, these consequences weren't accidental. They were part of a high-stakes negotiation tactic. The discomfort was a tool to pressure China and to rally domestic support around the idea of American economic nationalism. At the same time, there was a lesser-known but equally critical effort underway to rewrite global supply chains. The pandemic exposed how reliant the world, especially the U.S., had become on China for essential goods, from medicines to electronics components. Trump's trade war accelerated plans to diversify suppliers, encourage domestic production, and reduce vulnerability to foreign disruptions. This shift was about security as much as economics. It's not just about trade balances, but about resilience and independence in a world that could no longer be taken for granted. Geopolitically, the tariffs also distracted attention from deeper shifts in alliances and military strategies. While the world argued about steel tariffs and tariffs on solar panels, America quietly strengthened ties with key partners in the Indo-Pacific, expanded military presence, and negotiated new trade agreements that fit its strategic vision better than old multinational deals. This was about crafting a network of allies ready to counterbalance China's growing influence. So what does this all mean for the average person? On the surface, tariffs might have felt like a series of price hikes and trade disputes. But behind those tariffs was a blueprint for America's future positioning in the world economy and global politics. This plan involves tough choices, sometimes hurting short-term interests to secure long-term dominance. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy with implications for jobs, technology, national security, and international relations. Now, if you're following along and finding this insight valuable, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We dig into topics like this regularly, breaking down complex political and economic issues into real-world impacts that matter to you. Also, I'd love to hear your take on this. Do you think tariffs were a necessary move to protect American interests, or just a smokescreen for bigger ambitions? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's get a conversation going. The truth is, understanding trade wars and tariffs requires looking beyond price tags and protest signs. It demands examining the bigger strategic game that governments play when the stakes are the future of global power. By recognizing this, you're better equipped to see how policies today shape your life tomorrow. Another layer to consider is how Trump's plans affected America's industrial base. The tariffs and the rhetoric around them pushed many companies to rethink where and how they produce goods. Instead of relying heavily on overseas factories, especially in China, there was an increased push to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. This move wasn't just about creating jobs. It was about building a stronger, more self-reliant industrial ecosystem capable of supporting advanced technologies and defense needs. The administration also focused on updating critical infrastructure to support this vision: investments in ports, transportation networks, and research facilities that would make domestic production more viable. The tariffs helped justify these investments politically by framing the economic challenges as a wake-up call for America's competitiveness. We also have to talk about the intellectual property battle that often flew under the radar compared to tariff headlines. One of the key accusations against China was widespread IP theft, which threatened American companies' innovations. The tariffs were part of the pressure campaign to force China to change these practices. Though results were mixed, this element reveals how the trade war was as much about protecting America's creative edge as it was about tariffs themselves. As these strategies unfolded, global markets reacted with uncertainty. Some businesses hesitated to invest amid trade tensions, while others rushed to adapt supply chains. This unpredictability was itself a calculated pressure point in negotiations. It sent a clear message: America was willing to shake up the status quo to reclaim what it saw as lost economic leadership. But with all this disruption, the administration's vision was clear: America's economic future would depend on innovation, security, and self-sufficiency. Tariffs were a blunt tool in service of a far more nuanced and ambitious plan. Looking at the big picture, the administration was betting that short-term pain from tariffs would lead to long-term gains in strategic industries, job creation in new sectors, and stronger geopolitical positioning. They aimed to reset the rules of global trade to favor American interests more explicitly, even if that meant breaking with past agreements and upsetting traditional allies. So where does this leave us now? Understanding Trump's tariff strategy as a distraction allows us to focus on the real game, one of technological competition, supply chain realignment, and geopolitical chess. These are the arenas where the future of global power will be decided, and America's moves here will have lasting effects for decades. As we wrap this up, remember that politics and economics are often more intertwined and complex than they seem. Tariffs weren't just a simple economic policy. They were a signal, a tactic, and a mask hiding a deeper strategy to secure America's future. If this perspective surprised you, wait until you see what's coming next in the global race for AI supremacy and semiconductor dominance. That story dives even deeper into how nations are vying for control over technologies that will reshape our world. Check out the video linked here to continue exploring how these high-stakes battles are playing out and what they mean for all of us. Don't forget to leave a like if you found this insight helpful, and share it with someone who's curious about what really drives global politics beyond the headlines. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time. There's so much more to